Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett recounts the final days of the world leading up to the apocalypse, and the attempts of an earthbound angel and demon duo to put an end to it. It features really powerful, ethereal, and occult beings, and also just like a dozen of the most average people possible. There is a wannabe witch, a wannabe witch hunter, an antichrist, a workaholic American politician who has a decidedly non-antichrist son, and a postman. Just so many people trying their best. And if their best is good, that's questionable. There's an absolute mess going on in terms of the world's expiration date, but even still, the story takes a lot of time to highlight these painfully average people's lives. Their lives are even celebrated, because at the end of the day, it's not heavenly powers that put a stop to the apocalypse, and it's not hellish powers. It's just humans being really human, and their mistakes putting an end to a plan that has been 6,000 years in the making. There's so many tiny details that are just so lovingly added, and you can really tell that it's not just for the sake of world building. They're lovingly added because that's what the human experience is. Compilation of really tiny, probably meaningless, but maybe not meaningless, details. In this essay, I will. Hi everyone, my name is Sophia and welcome to Underqualified. Today we're going to be talking about probably my absolute favorite book, Good Omens, and its relationship to the concept of humanism. Humanism is a Western philosophy that upholds the human virtue, encouraging concepts such as understanding, compassion, fortitude, and balance. Humanism is built on two things: individualism and human dignity. Individualism, as the name implies, puts an emphasis on the needs and the wants of the individual, as opposed to collectivism, which prioritizes the needs and wants of the whole. These two terms, individualism and collectivism, are generally applied to whole cultures, and there's weaknesses and strengths to both forms of culture, and neither is really better than the other. It's just that individualism is a very Western concept, and this is a Western novel. I don't mean Western as in like cowboys and such, but I'm sure that seeing the Archangel Gabriel in a cowboy hat would be really fun. At its most morally corrupt, individualism can give you these like Machiavellian types who try to advance their own agendas at the expense of others' safety, well-being, all that stuff. But at its most morally sound, you can see the triumph of the human spirit and also just the sanctity of every single person's life. Which leads into the second pillar of humanism, which is human dignity. You value each person's life not just because of what they can contribute to society, but just from the virtue of them being a person. Human dignity is about every person being able to forge their own future with no limits put in place on how much they can grow. That's kind of the sales pitch for the US, the whole American dream shtick. And here in America, actual human dignity isn't really something that can be done in practice. And it's also massively misleading to the people who immigrate here under the assumption that the American dream can still be obtained. But it's still a good goal to work towards, this idea of being able to do what you want and to make a brighter future for yourself. It's just that capitalism makes that kind of hard. And now I'm going to connect all of this to Good Omens. Something that made me really fall in love with Good Omens is just how humanistic it is. The two main characters are supposedly the angel Aziraphale and the demon Crowley. But really they don't do much to contribute to stopping the end of the world. It's more due to the work of 6 human beings, one of whom is the Antichrist, Adam, who I'm going to be talking about now. The thing about Adam is that we dread the idea that any one person could change the world with just a thought. And when one person like that does come about, there's kind of this assumption that they're going to let all that power go to their heads and they're just going to become like this evil megalomaniac. However, nobody considered that expecting an 11-year-old to control the fate of the universe might be a little bit ridiculous. Aziraphale and Crowley, and by extension, Heaven and Hell, don't really know how humans work as much as they could claim to love them. Somehow they thought that with a demon and an angel raising this child, the child would be normal. But with the case in the actual Antichrist, Adam, he was raised by 2 humans. And somehow they thought that meant that this would just result in the world going kaput. They thought a human and a human would come together to create
Son of Satan, destroyer of worlds, Lord of Darkness.
And Adam just turns out to be this really loving kid, because even though he has a lot of potential to be evil, being the son of the devil, he was raised by 2 normal-ass people. He came to embody just the absolute best parts of humanity. He was very creative, very kind, very compassionate towards others. So compassionate that he wanted to change the entire world for the better. That he wanted to change the entire world. But then, when he saw that he had the potential to really harm the people that he cared about, he just dropped it all. Editing Sophia here just to say that, could you imagine having the emotional maturity at age 11 to give up all of the power in the world? Because I mean, how even? He's just good guy. He's very independent, and that's what makes him the most human out of anybody, really. Then there's the beautiful Aziraphale and Crowley. They've gone native. I said earlier that humanism was based in understanding, compassion, fortitude, and balance, and that's pretty much their relationship in a nutshell. They came together around the year 1100, and they decided that they were just gonna work together on all the dastardly or noble deeds that the world needed. In doing this, they learned a lot from one another, and they became simultaneously the best and the worst at their jobs. Aziraphale is a good angel in that he adores humans, is very kind, and is also courageous out the wazoo. But he's also really bad at his job, because he's a fucking heathen, and has the tendency to be a bit of an asshole from time to time. And while he does have a very sound moral compass, that just makes him, like, the sum of a good person, he's just very bad at actually listening to any of the rules that God puts in place. Now Crowley is good at being a demon. He's a good demon, he's a bad demon. He's good at being... He's rebellious, and he's willing to do whatever it takes for him to come out on top, and very, very resourceful. But he's bad at being a demon because he's pretty much the kindest person in the novel, following Adam, of course. And he's very generous. Well, with all of these contradictions and all these life experiences on Earth, they end up being pretty human, which I think says a lot about the potential for humans to be pretty much whatever they want. What I like about Good Omens is that you kind of end up with this The Office-esque moral at the very end of it. With all of this praise of humanity and with all of this complexity that's found in just the very basics of human life, you start to realize that beauty can be found in pretty much anything. There aren't many one-liner inspirational quotes that can be pulled from the book, which is kind of surprising considering that, like, on the surface it's a book about the world coming to an end and the partnership of evil and good to put an end to it. But most of the good messages in the book come out of just dialogue, which again is kind of representative of the human experience because you gain a lot of the things that you need in your life through a dialogue with another person or other people. I'm going to end this video with a reading of one of my favorite pages. It's a conversation between Aziraphale and Crowley, and they're discussing what will happen after the world ends. "That's it then," said Crowley with a gleam of triumph. He knew Aziraphale's weak spot, all right. No more compact discs, no more Albert Hall, no more proms, no more Glyndebourne. Just celestial harmonies all day long. "Ineffable," Aziraphale murmured. "Like eggs without salt," you said. "Which reminds me, no salt, no eggs, no gravlax with dill sauce, no fascinating little restaurants where they know you, no Daily Telegraph crossword, And no small antique shops, no bookshops either, no interesting old editions, no Regency silver snuff boxes. But after we win, life will be better, croaked the angel. But it won't be as interesting. If you think I missed something important, or if you want to talk about humanism or Good Omens with me, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'm always interested in learning from other people, because after all, I'm underqualified. Okay, we're doing an audio check right now. We're doing an audio check right now. And we're doing an audio check right now. Another audio check. Audio check, a lighting check, and a blocking check. Jesus Christ, save me. This is an everything check. Take 2.